While on the subject of Pickett's charge, it must be said that we gain precisely no insight into that event by pondering what might have happened had Longstreet nodded forward 12,000 men armed with semi-automatic weapons. Scenarios like this, completely unmoored from historical plausibility, have no capacity to tell us anything about the past. Yet even the most reasonable objection to counterfactual questions, the one which admonishes historians to study what actually happened in the past, fails, ironically enough, to acknowledge that what actually happened did not actually have to. To the extent that the past is alive, it teems with contingency and it pulses with lost alternatives. It's honeycombed with best plans foiled, with worst fears unrealized. As the historian Monica Black has written, every moment in time contains an unfathomably vast, kaleidoscopic array of variables that influence the direction and character of historical change in entirely unpredictable ways. By asking what if, we do not wander down a road not taken. Instead, we restore to view the welter of choices and the anarchy of emotions that confronted the people of the past in any given circumstance. We reaffirm one of the key precepts from which we depart as a professional guild, that nothing in the past was inevitable. Nothing in the past had to turn out the way that it did. Indeed, the pious condescension with which many scholars dismiss fictional questions actually effaces the extent to which academically trained historians have profitably engaged in counterfactual thinking, especially about the Civil War, its cause, its conduct, and its consequences. The historian must not only explain why events happened, but also it's incumbent upon us, I think, to explain why they happened when they did. One cannot understand secession, for instance, unless he or she appreciates why sectional showdowns in 1820, in 1833, in 1850, pick your date, did not yield to civil war. What was it about that particular moment in 1860 that distinguished it from these previous sectional showdowns? It's incumbent upon us to explain that. Counterfactual analysis, Gary Kornbluth contends, can help historians to appreciate the full significance of progressive achievements by giving credit to the human agents, individually and collectively, who made them happen when they did. In a clever essay that toggled between interpretive schools, Kornbluth argued that the U.S. war with Mexico was the necessary, if not sufficient, cause of the Civil War. The author hinged his thesis on a counterfactual scenario in which the Whig presidential candidate Henry Clay defeats the Democratic candidate James K. Polk in the election of 1844. The scenario is hardly far-fetched. Clay's narrow defeat in New York, he lost the state by a razor-thin margin of 5,107 votes, cost him the Electoral College and with it the presidency. President Clay, Kornbluth contended, would have pursued internal improvements and an ambitious domestic agenda instead of provoking an expansionist war on behalf of slavery. And without this further territorial expansion, the Missouri Compromise, he conjectured, might have endured as a viable solution on the slavery extension question for another generation or more. Without ingesting the poison of Mexico, polarizing provisos, and the politics of popular sovereignty, the second-party system might have survived, thereby muffling some of the more radical voices and short-circuiting conspiratorial thinking. Kornbluth's conclusion that Clay's election would have both averted civil war in 1861 and ensured slavery's survival after 1865 clarifies, I think, the necessity of the Civil War and its fundamental accomplishment.